Okay, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum, Cam. Good morning or good evening, whenever you're watching this. Today we're going to go over the 5 phrases in Arabic, also known as fragments. And as we said before, a phrase is an incomplete sentence. And we talked about a nominal sentence, and we said that it's made up of 2 parts, the subject and then the information about that subject, which is known as a predicate. So one of those 2 components is missing, meaning that we're dealing with an incomplete sentence. So we said that there are 5 of them in total, and we're going to hop right into it. So the first one is nasib mansub, and this is made up of 2 parts. So first is the harfu nasb, which is a particular, I'm not going to say word, but it's a particular harf that makes a noun nasb. It puts it into the state of nasb. And we said harfs are small words that have an impact on a noun. So when you see that word, and there's a particular list that's right over here, if you see any of these, it's going to have an effect on a noun that's coming after it. And we said what was special about it was that there could be multiple words in the middle, so it could tolerate a long distance relationship. So there could actually be 3 words in between this example here, and then at the end you'll have to just look out for that fatha to say that this is mansub, which is the word that is being affected by a harfu nasb, right? So you'll just have to look out for those signs. So for this, there are multiple harfu nasb, I think about 8 of them, and they are inna, anna, ka'anna, bi'anna, li'anna, layta, la'alla, lakinna. And the example here we have is innal masjida. So inna is used for definiteness. So we translate this as for sure the masjid, right? And we know this is a phrase because we're left asking, well, what about the masjid, right? It's not a sentence. It's not a complete idea. Next up we had harfu jar, which is very similar to nasib mansub. So the phrase for it is known as jar majroor, and it is a prepositional phrase, and it's made up of 2 parts. The first is the harfu jar, which is a preposition, and it's basically a particular harf that forces the word that comes directly after it into a state of jar, right? It's going to force that noun right after it into a state of jar, which is usually represented by a kasra. And the list of them are bata, kaf, lam, waw, mundu, mudkhala, rubba, hasha, min, ada, fi, an, ala, hatta, ila. And the example that we gave is fil masjidi. So fi is your harfu jar, and masjidi is your word that's being affected by the harfu jar, right? We'd call this majroor, which means a noun that's put into a state of jar, right? That's why they call it jar majroor. The full way of saying it is actually harfu jar, which means a particular harf that has the ability to put the word after it into a state of jar, and then ism majroor, which means a noun that is forced into a state of jar, right? The phrase is just known as jar majroor. Next up we have ismu ishara and mushara ilay, which is known as a pointing phrase, and this is made up of 2 parts. The first part is the ismu ishara, which is a pointing word, such as dhalika or hada, so that or this. And then the second word is known as mushara ilay, which is simply just a noun that has an alif lam. It has to have that alif lam, and if they follow one after the other, then it means that you're pointing specifically at that object, and that object is specific. It's not non-specific. So it wouldn't be translated as this is a book, right? It'd be this book if you said hadal kitab. And we provided a list of all of the pointing words here. All the ones in the dark blue are masculine, then you have their light blue feminine counterpart, and we go through all the hada and all of the dhalika. So it goes hada, hadihi, hadani, hatani, hadaini, hataini, haulai, dhalika, tilka, dhanika, tanika, dhainika, tainika, ulaika. And that's all of them. And we did a chart previously, so you can reference that so it's easier to memorize. And the example that we gave here is hadal masjid, right? So we have a pointing word, and the word following has alif lam, right? So hadal masjidu. So it means this masjid. And one thing to keep in mind is that whatever the state of hada is, it will be transferred over to masjid. So let's say hada was in a state of jar, right? If it was in a state of jar, then it would transfer over the kasra to masjid. And it would be hadal masjidi. Just something to keep in mind. As we said before, hada is a fixed word, so when it's just chilling out and nothing's coming before it to affect it, it's automatically in a state of rafa. But if you find, let's say, a harfu nasb before it, then it will be in a state of nasb, right? If you find a harfu jar before it, then it will be in a state of jar. The fourth phrase is mudaf ilayhi, which is known as an associative phrase. So essentially, it's made up of two parts: the mudaf and the mudaf ilayhi. The mudaf is the thing that's associated, and then the mudaf ilayhi is what it's being associated to, right? So in this example, we have kalbul waladu. So this is the associated, and it's being associated to this word, right? And it pretty much creates a relationship that means the dog of the boy, right? Of the boy. So the dog is being associated to the boy. Now the sign of mudaf is that it has no alif lam and it has no tanween. And then the sign of mudaf ilayhi is that it's in a state of jar. So if you wanted to identify a mudaf ilayhi associative phrase, you would look for the first word, and if it has no alif lam, has no tanween, then it's mudaf. And if the word that follows right after it is in a state of jar, then you know for a fact that's mudaf ilayhi, and you're dealing with a mudaf ilayhi phrase. The final one is mawsuf sifa, which is a descriptive phrase. And essentially, the first word that comes is mawsuf, which is the word that is being described. And then it's followed by an adjective. And these two have to match in the four properties of the sifa has to match the four properties of a mawsuf. And we learned the four properties are definiteness, number, gender, and status. If those four things match, then you're dealing with mawsuf sifa, descriptive phrase, right? And what's important to understand is that this is different than English. In English, when we're describing something, it's usually the description comes and then the object right after it. So it's black car. While in Arabic, it would be more like car black. The word being described comes first and then the description right after. So think of it as a list. So you could have car and then all of the descriptions coming after it. So it could be car, new, black, right? But when you translate it into English, it would be the new black car, right? That's just something to consider. So let's take a look at this example here, which is al-masjidul kabiru. So this is the mawsuf, the word being described, and this is its description. So they have to match in the four properties, right? They're both definite because they have alif lam. They're both in a state of rafa because they both have dhamma on the end. They're both masculine because we don't see any ta marbuta, we don't see a alif maksura or alif mamduda or any of those signs. And finally, they're both the same number because we don't have anything added on the end. There's no una, ani, ina, atun, atin, tani, taini, none of that stuff, right? And the noun itself is preserved, so we know it's not a broken plural. Nothing's changed inside of it. So we know we're dealing with a mawsuf sifa. So those are the 5 guys that we learned. Oh yeah, one last thing to mention. Thanks, man. Mawsuf sifa can tolerate a long distance relationship. So let's say you have a mudaf ilayhi, right? So kalbul waladi. If I want to describe kalbu, I would have to put the sifa afterwards, and it would have to match the 4 properties of kalbu, right? Because mudaf and mudaf ilayhi can never be separated. So you're just going to have to look at the word that comes after this phrase and try and match it in the 4 properties. And yeah, okay guys, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.